readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears.
And a huge thank you to all of our Patreons.
Thank you to the Pit Fighters, the First Swords, and all of the Bright Stars. Truth and Courage.
Hello
and welcome to the channel. Let's talk July TBR. I'm
correct.
excited for July. I think I love the beginning of the month.
The sun's out.
Guns
more TBR.
out.
You're going to be starting your holiday in July. Your daughter's first birthday.
Yeah.
What a month.
The excitement in that order.
Woo! There we go. Yeah, the priorities.
It's going to be a good...
and it's going to be Iris's
I was
first
talking
birthday.
about the books, but that's fine. Well, that's great.
Yeah, just... but it all permeates,
what
doesn't
are you
it?
up to in July?
All different spheres.
Actually, let's talk about the books.
First up, we're
us
going to be
off.
carrying on with our read-along of Blood and Bone, A Time of Blood, second book of Blood and Bone by Papa Gwynne.
It's
we're
of
doing
Blood
a
and
read.
Bone.
Is it of Blood and Bone or is it Blood and Bone?
And of Bone and Blood.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Maybe.
But yes, so A Time of Blood, we're carrying on our read-along. This is going on the Brothers Gwynne Discord. We're reading Papa Gwynne's series, of course. And then after this, we're going to be going on to the Bloodsworn Saga. So if you're not joining in on this, make sure to put it on your calendars. September, October and November, read-along of the Bloodsworn.
The months of Bloodsworn.
Fury of the Gods.
Where the sun
is coming
starts
out.
to go down, it starts to get a bit chillier. By November, Fury of the Gods will be out. And you'll be freezing, but don't worry, you can snuggle up nice and cozy in bed with Fury of the Gods.
Oh yeah, but for now we've got a Blood and Bone. This is where of Blood, of Bone, and A Time of Blood. No, I'm sorry. Okay, A Time of Blood. This is where it really kicks off. I love how A Time of Dread ends, and this is going to just. I know because I've read it before. Surprise, surprise.
Why do you have the American edition?
I don't know why I've got that.
Oh.
I just as you can see over there, you can't see, but I've got Papa Gwynne's books in all different languages, just because I'm pretty proud of him. You know, because I'm a good son. Sorry about that.
That
Ed.
does not answer my question.
I'm sorry
why
about
you don't
that,
have the English version.
I lent them out to somebody. Oh, maybe sharing the Papa Gwynne love. So, anyway, that we're both going to be listening to A Time of Blood. Yeah, you know what?
Cool.
Because I'm
Lovely.
sick.
Yeah, we're reading A Time of
Hearing it from
Blood.
you.
Please check out our Discord if you want to. The next one for
Sounds
me,
big.
well, the
Let's
first
not
one
beg.
for me, well, the second one for me,
But-
because I will be reading that one as well, is The Dying Grass by William T. Vollman. And as you can tell, it's a big old book. This is
It's a
actually
chunky
bigger
one.
than my Dash Hound. It's actually a lot heavier as well.
Is it?
But yes, so The Dying Grass is a 1,400-page epic, which is a historical fiction about the Nez Perce War in 1877, the year after the Battle of Little Bighorn and Custer's demise. And William Vollman has written a series which has spanned 1,000 years, and it is all about the Native American and Native American relationships with settlers, and it's very interesting to see that series, look at all the premises, and you can just kind of pick and choose what ones you want to read. This is my first Vollman book. As I said, it's 1,400 pages. I'm 700 through. It's a remarkable book that is incredibly complex, very, very hard to read, but once you get into the style, the rhythm, there is a beauty, there is a kind of a song to it, and I'm really, really enjoying it so far. But yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. It's very tricky to read, and a lot of it, I'm sure, goes over my little head. So
No, you're just talking to me about it. I don't think I could dive into that.
Said
that is
I
it took
didn't
a while
know
to
what
adapt
the
to,
style. Yeah, the style is incredibly tricky, but I'm looking forward to getting to the end. I have actually cried at this book. It's very, very emotional, and there are some incredibly breathtaking scenes. But anyway, I will talk about that at the end of the month.
So I'm currently listening to. I've made the dive. The Final Empire, book one of Mistborn, because it was the Patreon pick on, guess what? Patreon. So yeah, I'm listening to that. I'm about halfway through, and I'm intrigued. I really like the world building. I really like the drive where it's going.
Are you about to say something bad about Brandon Sanderson?
Not outright bad. I'd say that there's some very intriguing characters. Our main two characters, I'm not hooked by at the moment, and our main character Vin, I think there's a lot that is going to be very interesting, but she just thinks of ideas that somehow all the rest haven't, and they're like, wow.
It's great to have someone like that around, though.
They're like, what? No.
No,
an idea.
need someone like that around.
I have to give an example.
So she thinks
I'm
outside
sorry.
the box.
No. I'm sorry. There's an example. I'm really enjoying this, but Ed's making me give an example. So
I have not made
there's
you
a
at
crew
all.
of specialists, without spoilers, although most of you probably read it. Crew of specialists. They're talking about, they need to carry out this plan, but they can't do it when the garrison is in the city. It's just impossible. And so they're like, well, we can't kill the garrison. We can't find a way to get anything done with them here. And they turn to ask her what her opinion is. And she says, maybe we can cause a distraction for them to leave.
That is great thinking.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So obvious.
It's
and then the others are like...
Plan A.
The others are like, wow, I hadn't thought of that. Let's look into if that works. Which they should do. I agree, they should look into it. But I'm a bit worried if they can't even think of that. I'm sorry, that just...
You do realise how many people just unsubbed for us because of that stupid example.
I'm sorry.
Used.
But that hasn't ruined the read for me.
It sounds like you're out of it.
But I am really enjoying it, and there hasn't been any more moments since then. I was a bit worried because that was quite early on.
So you're saying the fantasy book wasn't believable?
I'm not saying that. Although them flying through the air isn't believable, but it's great to read. That's what fantasy is. It doesn't need to be believable.
So true.
I love it when people think of
As long as
ideas
it's
that I
fun.
thought of 10 minutes before.
Yeah. But it's fun, people don't think of that in that way.
Yeah, but...
They obviously have a different... The world building is so good that people do not think in a logical way. How good
I was
is
going to
that?
agree with the first part, because the world building is very good. And I'm hoping, beyond hope, that this is what I'm going to start getting, and it from now on.
Yeah.
And
It
I am
sounds like
feeling
you
that.
will.
It's great drive. Stop laughing. But anyway, I'm sorry. Little things just affect you differently, that more than they should, and that affected me.
Yeah.
But it's not taken away from enjoyment.
Very nice. And
I am not hating Mistborn, just to clarify.
Wait till the end of the month. We shall see. Let's
We shall
tune
see.
in at the end of the month and find out. I'm going to be reading a historical fiction called Flashman, which is something I think every single time we do a historical fiction video, someone, at least two people write it, why have you not read Flashman? And these are considered the classics of anti-hero historical fiction.
Okay.
As you can tell by the cover, it was written in the 60s.
Massive.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's not very nice, is it? Well, but anyway,
It's just very different.
yes, it is very different. But I've read the first couple of chapters. My interest is piqued. But so far, the main character Harry Flashman is detestable, which is always cool. So
Meant
yeah.
to be?
I hope so, because
Okay.
he's not a nice guy at all. And immediately, I love the writing style. I'm really intrigued by... it's kind of this Dickensian style, this Victorian style. It's
Okay.
really cool.
In what way?
The prose, the way that he's
Okay.
speaking, the way that he's telling the story. But yeah, you don't like the character at all. I believe that Mark Lawrence actually based the character, is it Jalen, in his second trilogy over this character. So
pretty cool.
Maybe he was inspired by Harry Flashman. But this is a man who is a coward, is a cheat, a scoundrel. And he kind of gets by. He joins the army, the British army, and then I believe he's sent to somewhere across the world. But I've only read the first couple of chapters. But I've heard
somewhere.
they are very, very fun novels. I've heard that I think there's about 12 of them. But I've heard they are classics of the historical fiction genre. So I'm looking forward to getting through a bit more of it.
And I'll be diving into a book Ed has recently loved, I believe, and that is Jade City by Fonda
I
Lee.
very much
So
enjoy that.
I started this about 2 years ago, but got about 100 pages in. Absolutely loved it. Loved the family dynamics. And then I had exams. And then I had some books I had to read, then some new releases, and it just got shelved away. And
Does sound like you
that
loved
was
it, Will.
that was awful of me. But yeah, I had to. I think Mama and Papa Gwynne were saying, "Look, you have exams. You can always read."
Did they take the book
But nah,
off of you?
they didn't take the book off of me. But they.
I actually distinctly remember Mama and Dada, Papa Gwynne, and Mama Gwynne taking Robin Hobb's books out of your room when you had exams.
Yeah,
all of them.
That really upset me. It was not on.
You're like, I hate you. I'm moving out as soon.
I
as
never
can.
said that. I've never actually said to our parents. Ed has just knocked over everything in my room
Why are your books just balanced on the floor?
because my shelves are full.
No, look,
No,
get some
actually,
more.
do you know what I think the words you're looking for, Ed?
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
It's
true.
like me walking in your house, kicking over a domino effect, everything. I'm like, why would you have that on the floor?
Okay.
But anyway, I love that this is called the fantasy version of The Godfather inspired. Got that kind of vibe. I'm going to love that.
I would
Don't go in.
heavily disagree with The Godfather / Peaky Blinders, those comparisons. I think just because it's like it plays on this like mafia, but I think it's completely different tone. It's like saying fantasy is like Game of Thrones. It's like saying Race Dragons is like Game of Thrones. Look, it's a family, and you've got some. I love the book. I think it's fantastic, but I just don't think it's The Godfather.
Can you just talk about the next book?
Yeah, that's fine. But like people say, Peter McLean series.
Is like Peaky Blinders?
No, or everyone says it's based on The Godfather. When it's not, it's actually beat by beat Peaky Blinders, isn't it? Yeah. So, don't trust the crowds, Will. Okay, don't trust.
Just been taught a life lesson by Ed.
No, anyway, the next one for me is Cloudsplitter by Russell Banks, which is a historical fiction about, I believe, an abolitionist in the 1900s in America, in the 19th century in America. He's kind of like labelled a political terrorist. And it's seeing his life play out through the eyes of his son. And I think a lot of the writing is this focus on the father-son relationship during this period, which is just pre-Civil War America, which is really interesting to me. I love that period. I love anything set in the 19th century American West. And I'm really intrigued at the moment to read kind of parental relationships. So like father-son, father-daughter. Obviously, I don't need to explain to you
what they are
means. But yeah, so that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I thought, historical fiction. This book is meant to be brilliant. So I'm looking forward to reading it. I mean, I saw that Sean from Travel Through Stories mentioned it as well, which I'm a big fan of his channel. So if I'm gonna read a book, I'm gonna read a book that he recommends. So Cloudsplitter, Russell Banks. It's a book I'm excited to read. Not the best cover, so just a bloke with a big.
Don't always trust a book by its cover.
Exactly, can't be that shallow, can I?
Next up, I've got Dark Frontier by Matthew Harvey. I am a huge fan of his work, which is all until now historical fiction. Well, until now, like Viking Age historical fiction. He's written a different type of historical fiction.
Well, not necessarily Viking Age.
He's written
because
a Western.
Obviously, the Bernicia Chronicles is more Vendel period, isn't it?
Sorry, Ed.
Well, actually,
I think...
What year is Bernicia Chronicles set? Is it 7th century?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I do not know.
You're one step away from saying I don't care.
No, I do care. I do actually care.
Okay.
But, shush. I promise I'm joking.
That's a really horrible thing to say, Will.
Ed's the one with the knowledge. So it's good.
Well, no, I wouldn't.
No, I that's better that you.
I just completely.
You have corrected my mistake, so that's better.
William's going to hit me when he's.
You give me a very bad name, actually. Anyway, this is a Western, and yes, Matthew Harvey's first attempt at it. But there's a video on our channel actually talking about May and June releases. If you want to check that out, where the authors pitch their own books. What better way to find out if a book's going to be for you? So thank you to all those authors for those videos. Again, but Matthew Harvey talks about how he's always loved Westerns and he's used Western inspiration in his other historical fiction works. And I really can see that in... have I forgotten what it's called?
Wolf of Wessex.
No. A Time of Swords. And a big part of it is like Magnificent Seven vibe, which is awesome. And so here we
Wolf of Wessex is True Grit.
Oh yeah,
it's John Wayne with a sword.
That is great.
And a big dog.
I like that. Called Odin. But yes, so this is Western. That you've really enjoyed this, and so I'm looking forward.
This is a Western. It's brilliant. I love the way that it's written. That is an Englishman's point of view going to America. Obviously, Matthew Harvey is an English author, and he wanted to get across that he didn't want to pretend to be based like an American character. So he wanted to write it. The American West from the perspective of an English detective. So this is kind of like thriller meets Western vibe. Really, really cool.
Very interesting. But
and if it doesn't even sound like your cup of tea, then buy the hardcover anyway, because there's a quote from me in there. So if you want
that's pretty cool.
Obviously, we all want to read that.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. But yeah, it's Matthew Harvey, an author I really trust. Western, which is great, and Ed has given it the tick of approval. Yeah. So. Well,
so go out, watch Kevin Costner's new Western, go out, watch Viggo Mortensen's new Western, then read that.
Oh, yeah.
The next one for me is a book which is Probably not something we'd expect to see on the channel, but it's a Gore Vidal book, which I believe he's written quite a lot of. He's a prolific historical fiction author who I haven't really seen mentioned on BookTube, but I see him on Goodreads pop up a little bit. But he's written a whole host of novels about a whole host of things. I think he's got one about Julian, who I believe was Julian a Roman emperor. And he's written some other stuff set in America. But this is a book called Hollywood, which is all about the dawn of Hollywood. I believe this is set in the late 1910s, so just after World War One, and it is about Hollywood, silent films, stars emerging, maybe similar to the film Damien Chazelle's film Babylon, which I watched, and I really loved it. I was hooked on it, and I thought I'd love to read some historical fiction set in that period, you know, that kind of all of the glory days of Hollywood, as it were, before, you know, sound in films came in. So I just saw someone recommended this on a Reddit thread. Reddit, see, that shows how out there this book must be if it's on Reddit. I haven't been Reddit.
I've never used Reddit.
No, I just see it, or just if you Google something random, that it comes up. So I wasn't actively logging in and saying.
But you saw it pop up.
I wasn't upvoting stuff. I think that's a Reddit thing. I miss MSN. Don't you? Do you remember MSN?
I'm a bit younger than you, Ed, so I'm afraid not.
Aren't we the same generation, technically?
You're a different century.
Am I a boomer?
You are a different century to me.
Are you a boomer?
No, I'm not a boomer.
Am I Gen Z or X?
I think I'm Z.
What?
Yeah. You're a boomer. Yeah, 90s are boomers, aren't they?
Nice. Is that a good thing to be a boomer?
I think so.
But you're Gen X.
Z.
Oh, that does. I wouldn't want to be.
No, I don't know.
See, now you're just popped in the generations where the next one will be whatever comes before X. Y, W, A, B, C.
The primary school teacher.
Why does my job come into it?
Because you must sing the alphabet a lot with the kids for spelling. Anyway, people getting bored, Ed. Next up, we got Horns by Joe Hill. I've been reading a lot of Stephen King lately. Been talking to Papa Gwynne about it a lot lately because he's read almost everything by Stephen King, and he said that a book I should read is Horns by Joe Hill, because I was saying that I don't really have the time to dive into it or The Stand right now because they're about 1,200 pages long. He said this is like a Stephen King book. Joe Hill is actually Stephen King's son, but it's not him trying to imitate his father. He's obviously just been inspired by it. He's been brought up in that household.
Innovate.
Exactly. And I love the premise where someone's girlfriend, they're living very happily, and then one day their girlfriend was murdered, and they were the only suspect, really. A few years later, he wakes up from a very drunken night out. He looks at the mirror. He's got horns.
He's got a full Hellboy.
I mean, that would freak you out, wouldn't it? And I believe that the horns mean that he can go round and people would tell him their deepest, darkest secrets. Wait for the joke. Wait for me to finish the premise.
Okay, sorry.
They will tell him their deepest, darkest secret, and he uses this newfound power to find out what happened to his girlfriend. And Bob Gwynne said there's 2 different timelines. Very interested to read this, and I will be in July.
He must call himself the GOAT. Come on.
You would, wouldn't you?
I would. I'd say I'm the GOAT. Right, the next one for me is a non-fiction, which is written by Winston Churchill himself, and it's called My Early Life. And he lived quite the early life, from what I know, and I'm intrigued to see to read about his experiences at Harrow. I believe he went to Harrow.
I know he was kicked out of school.
He was. Well, he was kicked out. He joined the Hussars. Was it the Hussars?
I don't know.
I think so. And then he was a war correspondent in the Boer War, which is, I'm very intrigued to see what it was like.
And came into conflict with his half-sister.
I believe Lord Byron went to Harrow as well, with a bear. And Winston...
Cambridge was there.
Oh, was it Cambridge? Wasn't it Harrow?
No, because it's when he went to uni.
Because Winston Churchill took I think he took a bulldog to Harrow.
Did he?
Because Byron took a bear.
Well, Byron took a dog. He had a dog. And it was taken away from him. So maybe he had a dog at Harrow.
There was no rule.
But it was taken away at Cambridge. They said, you're not allowed a dog here. And he was like, give me back my dog. Yeah. And they refused. So he went and bought, I believe, a black bear. And he said, well, there's no rule in the book that I can't have a black bear.
I bet the year after said no bears.
Yeah, it said no bears, yeah. no
In the
alligators,
prospectus,
no
yes.
bears, no lions.
Nice.
But I don't think he actually got his dog back.
Oh, what
I
happened
think
to
it was sent to his home, but he just couldn't have it.
Fair enough. But anyway, this was written by Churchill himself. I believe later on he had kind of some ghostwriters writing his books with him or for him. But this stuff was all written 100% by him. And I know that Dominic Sandbrook, who is one of the fixtures of The Rest is History, said his prose is blistering. So I'm looking forward to reading it. Yeah.
Do I have
I think that this
else?
is obviously Churchill was a very controversial figure, isn't he? But I think
Yes.
that all of this is before those controversies and the colour happened. In
What
his
age does
life.
it go to?
So, well, I think it's when it's the Cuban War, I believe. So I think it's when he stops being a war correspondent.
But does it go through him during the Boer War?
It goes through him being in the Boer War, but
There's going to be a lot of controversy.
and he
then.
was in a prison, wasn't he?
And there's controversy about that as well.
Okay, well,
But he might not actually talk about that in there.
I think you're projecting.
Projecting?
Yeah,
What do you mean? That was controversial.
I'll find out.
Because I believe he was captured with two other people in a camp where it was known that people can't really escape. And he somehow escaped and they didn't. So they think that he may have given up information.
I heard,
But nothing,
okay, we'll see.
has been
I thought he
confirmed.
he was quite friendly with the people who he escaped from, and he did escape one day because he used to get his hair cut in there. I've listened to a podcast about him, and
Yeah, there's obviously different.
I know a couple
thought.
of things, but yeah, I think he escaped because the barber was coming to see him or something, that kind of thing. Yeah, interesting though.
Yeah,
crazy life.
You've got the next book I'm going to be reading.
Yes, the next one is A Good Deliverance, which is by Toby Clements. Now, I've read 2 of Toby Clements' War of the Roses series, which is brilliant historical fiction. I think I would like to reread them physically because I listen to them, and I know that sometimes I don't get 100% of the gist. Not the gist, but I kind of take it all in terms of reading that prose, really getting to grips with the prose. And I think Toby Clements has a really nice way of writing, so I'm definitely going to reread his style, which will be really cool. But this book, you'd like to read as well.
A Good Deliverance?
A Good Deliverance.
I'm actually 100 pages in, as of this moment.
Oh, tell us. Tell us more.
So this is about Mallory, who you may know
It says Hilary
as...
Mantel on the back.
Yeah, so she said that he's a great writer.
Wow.
Um,
Is that about this book, or is it other series?
no.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah,
Rudely
well, she passed away
interrupted.
last year.
I know,
So-
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
That's what I was confused.
But so Thomas Mallory, the writer of Le Morte d'Arthur, a huge figure in kind of repopularising the Arthurian legend.
Yeah.
This about him. He read a very colourful life. Quite a lot of controversy about him as well.
Mm.
So it'd be interesting. Obviously, it's historical fiction set during the 15th century. I believe it's 15th. Yeah. So
Yes.
there's going to be a lot of filling the gaps, and so it'd be interesting kind of what stance Toby
you
Clements
enjoying
takes. I am enjoying it. It's taking a little while to adapt to the style.
Ah.
It is quite out there, but I think that's beginning to pay off. And if it already is, when I'm 100 pages through, it'll probably get better and better as the
So
story
is it
goes on.
from
It's a chronicler's
Mallory's
tale.
perspective?
It's a
nice.
chronicler's tale. He's arrested. He's telling a story to a young boy.
Harry de Hotspur.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. So this must be, early 15th century then,
Yes.
if he's talking about Hotspur.
Yeah. I think his
Lovely.
childhood actually begins late 14th century.
A lot of Middle English words here. With
There is, yeah.
the traditional spellings. Very Chaucer. Nice. Cool. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this, and we will be having a review on the channel very soon.
Very soon.
Very soon.
In July.
12th of July.
12th of July.
12th of July. Lovely. I believe that's all of me, Will.
That is all of me as well.
All of me.
But yeah, that is what we intend to read in the month of July. A good month. Iris's birthday. Lots of other things going on. Just to make sure that is the priority.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah, so that is July. Big things reading Mistborn for the first time. I'll be sure to post my thoughts.
I forgot to
Good
say, I
Deliverance.
shall be reading Mistborn as well.
The
'cause-
Final Empire.
Yes, we'll be
Very
doing,
nice.
and we might do a review of that on the channel as well.
Possibly,
We'll see. But if
possibly.
William's going to be super negative,
I
then
wasn't
I won't
super
bother because
negative.
we'll just get blocked by a lot of people, won't we? So
But anyway, that
Looking
is
forward
what we
to it.
intend to read in the month of July.
let
Please
us know in
what
the
your
comments
July
below what you are going to
TBR
be
is.
read. Sorry, but yeah, I was going to say the same thing. You go.
It's a good message. Let us know what you're reading in July. Let us know maybe your favourite reads of June. Maybe you're carrying on those series this month.
Oh, and I do have one thing that I need our readers' help for. I would love to read or listen to a vampire book in July. With the trailer of Nosferatu coming out by Robert Eggers, I'm intrigued for some more vampires. Now, I've read Dracula, I've read Salem's Lot, and I've read I Am Legend.
I imagine the most popular response would be Anne Rice. Something by
Is
Anne Rice.
that what Interview with the Vampire? Anything else? Let me know.
I think she's written quite a few books.
Cool. I should check it. Obviously, Empire the Vampire. I've read that as well.
Yeah.
But yes, Truth and Courage. The Brothers Gwynne.
The Brothers Gwynne.